Good evening. I'm going to call the November 17th Planning Board meeting into order. We have 4 members present tonight, so we have a quorum. We're going to start off with a public hearing for the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance, specialized medical clinic and medical marijuana grow-only facility. We have 1 member of the public here. You here for that? You're not, okay?
Well, we ought to, if you must be here for the water one, then.
Okay, that's just a memo that we have later
Memo,
on.
we just got the memo on that, so it's not going to be on the agenda, is it tonight? Or just other than just
We
getting
can
the memo?
discuss it, yeah.
I think you give a presentation to the selectmen?
Yep, they said they were going to pass it down to you guys.
Yeah,
No, we just got the memo from them, so.
Okay.
What am I talking for? Your chair.
you got it. You're doing a good job.
So why couldn't he, at the same time, if he's here, why couldn't he tell us instead of here getting it second half from the selectmen? Why can't we hear him while he's here?
All right,
Sometime tonight?
we'll close up the...
Sure. So after the public meeting, we could banter back and forth, sure.
With no members from the public here then for the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. Just so people know at home, we've added some definitions to our zoning ordinance, allowing for specialized medical clinics, medical marijuana grow-only facilities, and we've added some restrictions about the zones where they'll be, and then clarified parking requirements for those. So that public's would like to read it, that will be available at the office. We also are scheduled to have a wellhead protection discussion, but we just got the maps, and we will not be having that tonight. So,
Having
Tom?
done that,
Mr. Chairman, can I offer a couple suggestions, not for the board, but for the applicant, that being the water district,
okay.
that for this particular public hearing, because of the context of this type of ordinance, all the butters within the recharge area, in my opinion, should be notified.
Right.
That must happen, and there should be, I think, some real clarity as to what those 2 recharge areas are. Granted, there's a map that's available, but there's a goodly number of townspeople that are impacted by this, so it's important that clarity comes out. It's a fairly complex ordinance.
so they all need to be notified, number one.
Absolutely.
And having said that, let me hit the part that I brought up. Since these are both private water supplies, these are not town-owned water supplies, then who bears the cost of all these notifications? That should go on them, not the town,
It's
I
my
would hope.
opinion, it should be the applicant.
Yes, thank you.
It's my opinion, it should be the applicant, and that's my recommendation to the board.
Yeah.
Additionally, for that public hearing, in case there's technical questions that come up, I'd also suggest to the board that the water district's civil engineer be present to answer any questions that the board might have or the public might have.
I agree.
Wouldn't, at the same time, what's the guy's name? Steve
Scott Davis?
Levy? Is it Levy?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't he also be here for something like that?
You know, I'm not sure what his capacity is with
No.
the water district. Do any of the board members know, or do you know, Tina, what Steve's
Steve
position
Levy's
is? Is he,
Relationship is?
I think he's a consultant to the district, isn't he?
I think so. As same token, if they could, same recommendation, he ought to be notified to be here too, so we don't go through oh gee, we wish we had Steve here. Which we
Yeah.
do, it seems every meeting that brings up water, somebody says,
I
yeah,
think
wish
it'll
we
help
had Steve.
facilitate your public hearing, get
Yep.
the answers that you need rather than
Yep.
with unanswered questions.
Okay. That being said, I think Tom's advice is solid. We'll close the public hearing at 7:08, having no members from the public. The only thing we really have is the memo from about the request. If you want to just give a summary of it.
Do you have copies of the map at all?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I'm the owner of JD's Package Store. I have two lots in Waterboro. One's JD's Package Store, one's right beside it. One's Lot 5-1, one's Lot 5. I'm asking to request to have both back lots rezoned to Village. Right now, it's a split zone. The front is Village and the back is residential. I would like to see if I could have the back two rezoned to develop it into a rental space, a rental building. I think you also have a picture of a design I have for the building, where the building would sit. It would either hold, right now, my idea is to design it to hold 2 retail spaces and possibly a restaurant, or 4 retail spaces. The entrance would be directly across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. Everybody around me right now is on both sides of me, are both, businesses. I have the pediatric on one side, I have the bank on the other side, I have Dunkin' Donuts across from me, and Hannaford's directly across the street from my store. The asking for both rezoning back of the lots is that I want to build on one right now, and the other one I would possibly want to do in the future, but right now I'm only looking to possibly rezone these 2 for commercial property.
Is this, the store sits on 5-1?
Yes.
And this driveway would be the same as the stores, or?
Nope, this driveway would be directly across the street from Dunkin' Donuts.
We've been doing it on fill-in.
Yep.
Okay.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, just another driveway?
Yep, I have actually already received a DOT permit for an entrance there.
It's bad enough getting out now without another driveway there.
Right, but it's a separate lot, so I need a separate entrance.
So would that completely rezone both of those lots? I mean, you're not splitting them up, it
No,
would be completely rezoned if it was rezoned.
yep, the back 2. Right now, the front is already zoned for Village, but the
Yeah.
back is not. They split it right where the runoff swale runs through. They did
Yep.
that, I think, in the 70s or something like that.
From here, Tina and Tom, we need to schedule a public hearing for this.
It's going to be a public hearing that's called by the planning board. The planning board will make the decision as to what you'd like to recommend for the change of zone. From what I'm hearing from the Board of Selectmen, and I'd also encourage you to do the same, to look in the broader context of that whole area as to what extent or non-extent.
That would certainly be something we could look at long-term, but that certainly wouldn't be something we'd do in this one.
If you
But this-
remember correctly, the last time we did this, had a citizens initiative, whatever you call it, we got into a lot of hot water because we tried to change.
We
What
can
the
deal, we
citizen
can,
had
we can deal with his
proposed.
request.
So I assume that it's our job to look at this request and make a recommendation on this, that we cannot change this request.
The request as it's presented is from Mike's Holdings only. And I just, reporting with the selectmen, have passed on that they wanted the board to look at it in a larger context. But you're absolutely right, Judy, that when an application is presented, the board reviews for what is presented,
Right.
and that's it. You can give a recommendation that you look outside of that, but not in the context of this application. And I did want to, if I may much, share with the board, because more and more I want to start using these aerials, and so I had asked both Mike and Sebago Technics to prepare this. I think more and more when you look from the aerial context, in fact, I've got a larger one that I'm working on so we can see the whole big picture. Because as we go through the change of zones, it's important to review what the applicant has presented, but we also have to look at the bigger context too. And this is one of our 2 growth centers, without question. And the next real estate cycle, this will be sitting right smack in the middle of the growth center. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And I think on any change of zones, I'll make a point to speak with applicants like Mike to secure the areas. I think it gives a good broad perspective of what we have out there. Helps
So
us.
obviously, the broader viewpoint is some subject for a workshop with us and longer term, sure.
Yes.
So this whole lot back here, behind your lot, is a whole, that's tax map 5.
5, 1, and 5.
But this isn't, you don't own this land back, all this land back here, outside of, this is a whole different.
Yes, just this lot right here.
Okay.
These 2 lots right here.
What are these, Tom, do these ones also extend back to a line back here, or do they follow, as the end of these property
Pretty much,
lines?
it followed the course of the brook
So it's just these two that are divided?
currently.
Okay.
And another point we'll talk about other properties too that are likely to either come forward or at the board's discretion for looking at a larger zone.
So that black line is property line.
No, that black line is a swale, isn't it?
Yeah.
No,
The
this
stream?
one here is actually a water line.
Yeah.
It's, there's a brook that runs right through here.
Okay.
So I think when the town was zoned, they thought that was a logical boundary to establish between village and residential.
But that also is the back line for
That is
these
the back
lots.
line. Yep.
For his,
For
for
all
his,
of those
For
lots.
mine, no.
no, you go back.
There are no other split lots in that area.
I'm not sure where the property line is on these. This is a split because this comes back here and it flares out to 37 acres.
Yep.
So you've got this 50-foot right away, comes back in here, out here, and all the way back basically to town property.
What about not part of lots of record?
It's a missing lot. I tried to research it. It's not deeded on anybody's property. It was a discrepancy in like a measurement when they sold them way back.
What did the surveyor come up with when they did the perimeter survey? Or does
Same
this have a
thing.
perimeter?
Same thing, that's there. Even when the bank purchased it, I remember talking to the surveyors there, and for some reason the measurements don't match, and they use a slot down the middle.
About 10 feet?
No,
or so?
15 feet.
15 feet.
I read back, I'm gonna say it was like early 1800, that this was a easement, a right of way for a person to log this property. It was only an easement for like 10 years. I researched it trying to figure out what it was. And after 10 years, the easement was supposed to disappear, but when they sold the next lot, they never sold that lot to it, so there's no need for it.
How long have you owned this?
Since 91.
91. Have you been using any portion of that?
No, it's wide open right now.
If you use it for 20 years,
Yeah,
it's
it's
yours.
Put a stone wall up.
Yeah, but that's,
I've been,
It has to be-
I've been using it for the last 5 years.
Well, 15 more when you own it.
you have to
Buy
actually show
from
an
it.
improvement on it, and there has to be a knowledge of the person that owns it.
Yeah,
It's
There's
a,
not an owner on it.
Yeah.
not like New Hampshire, where I can pay the taxes out of it.
yeah,
There's no deed number to it or anything. There's no tax number to it.
but that wouldn't actually open up, it's only not wide enough to even give access
It
back
was
there.
15 feet, just enough for,
No logging road.
Log.
yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
Well, it's an easy way to resolve this, because we'd ultimately want to get this cleaned up anyways. We just want to end up having pieces of land that aren't taxable. You talk to the bank, and the bank talks with you, and you get 2 attorneys together, and gives you a buck, you buy it.
right. I
So-
just never-
This client wants the 15, and the bank can be generous.
What'd you say?
We both take care of it,
Okay,
actually.
2 attorneys.
It's all-
Oh, I thought you said maybe the bank would be generous.
Yeah, I did, right? Just for me, so.
Yeah. Okay.
all right, so the Selectmen's memo actually says, Board of Selectmen voted unanimously on Tuesday, November 9th, 2010, to forward to the planning board the zoning change request presented by Michael Allen of JD's Package Store regarding map 25, lot 5 and 5-1. At this time, the board would like you to also consider the whole area and recommended any changes you feel would be appropriate. So I think we could look at, we should hold a public hearing for your application to get input on that. And at the same time, the planning board can look at other lots in that area. That way you're moving forward, and then we can also look at those as it goes through. Does that make sense?
That is a separate meeting.
Yeah. Okay. That's all we can really do without, getting input and everything else from it, so, I mean, but at least we can know what you're talking about. And I think most people have seen what's going on, so they knew something was happening back there. So, what's the earliest, Tina, we can get a public hearing?
15th of December.
Okay. Does that work with your calendar?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Because you should be here and give a presentation. And
Yep.
we could do it, just wouldn't do any,
Okay.
So 15th of December. Do we need a motion on that?
I'd make that motion.
All right, having a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any opposed? Okay. Public hearing on the 15th. All right, thank you. All right. The only thing else we have is I'll just leave it here, Tom. The only thing else we have here is a memo from Genest.
Yeah. Yeah. Just need to be
We're just going to sign it, right?
signed, yeah.
Okay. And that's the abandoned subdivision that they had.
I have the original
Okay.
If you gotta sign that one. And just check.
I thought we'd each sign our own copy and give you a
Yeah.
copy. All right. Tom, do you have anything?
Just a reminder, if there's any questions from the board members about, the selectmen requested, I think it's called a meeting of the minds with the Economic Development Committee, the Board of
Tuesday,
Selectmen, and Planning Board, 30th of November, starting at 6:30 here. And I believe they circulated, I'm not sure who generated the questions, if it was the Board of Selectmen or who, but there were 3 or 4 questions that I think were going to be the focus of the conversation. Frank has also recommended that Patty be present.
It's
So
not
that
so
she
much a recommendation, it just seems obvious that the absence. She should be there, number one. Number two, is that basically, if you read those 4 things on there, it looks like we're doing an EDC visioning session. Well, I read the thing, that's basically what it looks like.
I think, well, I believe you're right, Frank. I think one of the reasons for getting the people together so that everybody knows who's on first base. And if the EDC is proceeding ahead, last night they gave a report to the Board of Selectmen that they were both advocating and going to try and establish as one of their number 1 priorities to set up a business park in town. So didn't want to do that in a vacuum without the planning board knowing, because the planning board might have some good insights as to where you might want to suggest that a business park is focused in the community. On the other hand, it may turn out, because there's such limited amount of land left in town, believe it or not, to put in a large-scale business park. It's pretty obvious it's going to go into probably 2 or 3 or 4 places.
Don't we already have one?
Well, let me just finish my thought. And then piggybacking that is whether or not the current zoning ordinance does what you needed to do or wanted to do for the establishment of more commercial businesses in town, ergo, business park. So I think that's one of the reasons that they would like to. There's probably other reasons too, but I know they advocated that last evening at the Board of Selectmen meeting. And if there ever was a good time to do planning for larger business ventures in the community, it's now. Because hopefully that cycle of bringing in some new commercial business tax ratables for us
Is
will
that
happen in a
something?
couple of years.
Is that something the 2020 committee is looking at? Is this part of the visioning thing we've got going, that they want more business, or are we going to be more of a suburb? I mean, I don't hear this stuff coming out anywhere except BDC.
It's been talked about at 2020, but in a much more general sense. And so EDC has been advocating it the strongest. The 2020 committee members, without them here, I don't want to speak for all 8 of them, but I believe that the majority of them are very supportive of having a business park. In the first visioning session that was held, It came up from the public that they were questioning and wondering why the town didn't have an industrial park or a business park. So that came up from the public at large. But we haven't done enough visioning sessions to say that's what the townspeople want. We haven't heard from the planning board, and I think the planning board has a big voice and should have a big voice in whether or not the town should be advocating for a business or industrial park.
Okay.
Or maybe another type of park. You know, I haven't heard anyone talk about an R&D park, which is would be more of the trend versus an industrial park. I don't think you're going to see a lot of large manufacturing operations coming.
And of course, you're talking public versus private, whether the town has to put up money, which we,
Exactly. So these are all unanswered questions, and I think that's the purpose of the Board of Selectmen would like to bring everybody together under one roof at one time and hear how people think.
Okay.
See if if you're supportive of it, if 2020 is.
having gone this way though, and it wasn't that long ago, they were talking about form-based coding. And this is exactly not what you're going to do with form-based coding. You're not going to have a centralized business park.
No, however, you could have both. You know, your form-based code fits more in a village zone, and your business parks typically aren't and shouldn't be within your village areas. So it's logical that you could actually have both.
Makes sense.
So again, it's the 30th, it's at 6:30. And if there's anything that, I'll be attending that meeting. If there's anything, if you can't make the meeting, if there's any individual board member would like to have me relay any message, I'd be
Okay.
happy to do that.
All right. Having nothing else on the agenda,
We don't.
I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
I would offer that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor? Unanimous?